righty, fellas. Welcome into the post-week one, almost 13 Colonies podcast. I'm your host, Colin Sayers, joined by producer Pat.
Yo, 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 yo.
Pat, do you hear crickets?
Yeah, I hear a lot of crickets, especially coming over from Vinny's side.
It seems very, very quiet on this podcast today, and I'm slightly concerned.
We have no guest this week. We have no Clay this week because he's getting married. Shout out to him. And yeah, I'd say it's a little concerning. Where is everyone?
You know, I'm not sure what anybody has that's more important than coming on a podcast with their best friends and talking some fantasy football shit.
I know.
Really don't know. But
maybe because I finally won over Clay. And maybe everyone's getting a little nervy. I don't know.
They might be scared. We don't know.
They might be a little scared.
Well, how about this? Cheers anyways, Pat. Here's to another episode. It's just going to be you and I holding down the fort today. Yeah, let's get it going, man.
Let's get it on.
So we're going to take a look back at the recap from last week. As I understand it, we have a nice new segment created. So roll that tape. And for our first ever weekly recap of the action going on in the almost 13 colonies, we're taking a look at Prestige Worldwide versus Corn Kid. A wise man once said, if you dream it, you can do it. And Andy clearly didn't get this memo as he picked against himself week one. Turns out spending $3 on a kicker doesn't translate into fantasy success. He's also got glaring holes at tight end he might want to address in the future. Fellas, I'm rolling out a once-in-a-lifetime business opportunity. As the first word in entertainment, management's portfolios, and fantasy football points this week, it might be time for you to invest in Prestige Worldwide. We've got the return of Saquon D's nuts, the continued dominance of Killer Trav, A.J. Brown being a man among boys out here. Prestige over silly little Corn Kid, 187.05 to 115.1. In our second matchup, we go to Patrick's Mustache, the defending champ, versus Apollo Creed, our runner-up from last year. Apollo Creed took a beating in the ring in this one. Russell Wilson looked very limited against his old team in a shocking upset. CeeDee Lamb cried wolf, and we might be in for a year of McCaffrey as he didn't produce what we're used to seeing. Creighton, I hate to tell you, but you need a new note card guy. Cam Akers did not start, and he looked bad when he was in there. Conversely, Mitch's team looked almost as good as its namesake, Patrick's Mustache. You still have that one, Pat. Expectations were high with the highest drafted player in league history, but $80 Jonathan Taylor came through with a performance as strong as Tom Selleck's stash. Burrow spent the day chasing the Steelers, and the deadly duo came through with solid performances. Also, I'm not sure when the Eagles decided it was okay for Miles Sanders to score a touchdown. Clay, take it up with management. Stash Man over guy in boxing shorts, 154.15 to 93.4. Our third matchup of the week had Pat, worse than Rutgers, versus Clay, Zeke, and Destroy. He guaranteed a playoff appearance, and thus begins the revenge tour for Pat. He was better than Rutgers this week, taking it to Zeke and Destroy. CEH came out of nowhere, and I mean nowhere, and gave Pat a stellar performance, and Cooper Kupp set the trend for top-tier wide receiver production this year. He might have to send Deshaun Watson a Christmas card, though. With him being suspended, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb continue to put up massive points, getting 80 carries a week each. The world's smallest violin is playing for Clay at this moment, as he saw below-average production from everyone on his team playing on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, the Steelers were the only bright spot. Think opposite of Nebraska's performance. All defense, no offense. Pouring out for Dak, too, as we saw him go down with a little bitty hand injury. Poor guy. Hopefully Trey Lance can improve next week for Clay's squad. Worse than Rutgers over Zeke and got destroyed, 138.55 to 104.25. Next, we have our top regular season man last week, John versus Creed's Worm Guys, another former champ. John picked up right where he left off after having the best regular season last year, defeating Brecken in a close one, 128.4 to 125.55. Leonard Fournette's jersey was a little snug. We all heard the rumors in the offseason. but that didn't stop him from putting up numbers against the Cowboys. Justin Herbert and Michael Pittman continue to show the dominance as well. P.S. I'm sorry we didn't call you John, but congrats on 1-0. Sincerely, please still be my friend. Despite having a stacked roster, Brecken's team underperformed with the exceptions of his top wide receiver and running back, Stephon Diggs and Lamar Jackson. Guys, I hear he forgot to draft a quarterback. Hit him up with it all the 2-for-1 and 3-for-2 offers you can. I hear he really likes those. Next up, we have AFC West versus Hertz Donut. Noticing a trend yet? Those who threw a fit and criticized me as a commissioner, how dare they, were the two lowest scoring teams this week. Creighton and Pierce, where you at? Call it karma. Maybe y'all should get your poop in a group before coming at me next time. You'd think by year 8 in the league, Pierce would have the skill and strategy enough to not start an injured player. We've been through this. Rookie mistake. Whoops, did I say rookie mistake? We're talking about James Cook's performance. Fumbling on his only opportunity of the game in Pierce's starting lineup. What are you doing, man? He better pray to God that this isn't how the rest of the season goes. Alexander, I know we've had some beef in the past, but I'm truly impressed with how your team performed. Adams, Judy, and Waddle will be fun to watch all year. And yes, we all know you got away with highway robbery drafting Mahomes for $13. I said it. AFC West over Hertz Donut, 157.65 to 78.45. In our very first inaugural game of the week, we had Hard Knocks Life versus Kittle Corn. I thought playing the inaugural game of the week would be too much pressure for Steve. After all, it is the most hyped matchup he's played in his entire career in the league, dating back to 2014. He came out guns a-blazing this year, drafting studs left and right. It was truly a sight to behold. This week, Allen, the Stallion, and Justin Jefferson might need an appointment at Elite Health and Wellness after putting his team on their backs. Shameless plug. Zach took a shot and put Antonio Gibson out there. See what I did there? Which paid off. And Mike Thomas actually looked like Mike Thomas of old. It helps to have Jameis out there slinging that thing. I think better days are ahead for Aaron Rodgers, though. If not, it could be a long season. In the first ever game of the week, in the almost 13 colonies, Kittle Corn, our very own Steve Lesher, aka not Kansas anymore, over Hard Knocks Life, 141 to 116.9. And that's your recap from week 1. And there you have it, guys. Let us know what you think. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into Pat's own segment, the injury updates. What you got, Pat?
Alrighty, fellas. So injury update number 1, Dak Prescott is a little bitch and went out with a hand injury this week. And he's now going to be missing a few games. I'm sorry, but you can't tell me that your hand just starts magically hurting 5 minutes before the end of the game going into the tunnel. After the shittest performance I've ever seen out of week 1. And again, being absolutely fair here, right? It's the Cowboys. We all knew this was a very typical Cowboys move to just come out, becoming the favorites 5 minutes, by the way, 5 minutes before all bets closed, they turned up to be -2.5.
They were? I didn't know this.
Yeah. 5 minutes before all bets closed, the line changed, and they became -2.5. The favorites to win this game. Wow. And they didn't show up. They were nowhere to be found.
Can I ask you an unpopular question?
Absolutely.
So I know Dak's injured, and that's that. It is what it is. Do the Cowboys suck?
The Cowboys are not good.
I mean,
officially not good. I have heard rumors, though, that they are bringing back, or they might possibly bring back. Oh shoot, I cannot think of his name. I didn't even write it down. The guy that Colin Kaepernick. They're going to be bringing back Colin Kaepernick possibly into the mix.
Jerry Jones won't ever do that. He just won't.
What else do you have though? Because if you're the Cowboys, right, like you got to do something to help protect your season, right? I could
see him going for Jimmy G, maybe.
I could also see him going for Jimmy G, but I don't know if they want to trade for Jimmy G.
Here's the deal. I'm not sure that any of that helps when you got Pierce and Alexander out here running routes as their top 2 receivers and an O-line consisting of me and you. I mean,
Yeah.
they got nobody on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. So they are rough. So that is the bitch move at Dak Prescott. Next injury update, we got Elijah Mitchell out with the knee injury for.
Who has him on their team?
Great question. I did not look that up.
Definitely is not me, right, Pat?
Couldn't be me.
No,
Couldn't
it's
be
me.
me.
It's me.
Is it?
Second year in a row, I get burned by a freaking 49ers running back.
Well, I'll tell you, we'll get into the next segment, and I may have a little way that you can help that.
It's a good thing I'm slightly deeper running back, but I gotta say, San Francisco, what the hell are you doing with your medical staff and your training staff, man? This is the second year in a row you've had your starting running back go down. I mean, shoot, at least I got almost 2 quarters out of Elijah Mitchell. I got 2 carries out of Raheem Mostert last year. There's something going on with the preparation, the conditioning, the strength program in San Francisco. Kittle was out, and it's a mess.
It's got to be something in the water in San Francisco. It's got to be.
Yep.
Next one I got is Harrison Butker. He left the game early on Sunday with the Chiefs. They're saying that it's not serious with his ankle injury, and he is possible to play on Sunday's game against the Chargers.
If not, we get more Justin Reed extra points, and I love that. He did kick two kickoffs through the uprights, though.
He did. He looked good.
Yeah,
he looked good.
Not bad.
Nothing else was great, but that looked good.
Yep.
Alrighty. Next up, we got Mac Jones, possibly coming back for Sunday versus Pitt. As you all know, he's been struggling with a back injury, actually.
Oh.
Again,
Elite Health and Wellness. Hit me up.
Yes. Shout out to the plug. So that one's not super big, but if you have Mac Jones, I would be a little concerned and may pick up a quarterback, just in case he doesn't actually play against Pitt. Last one I got is T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt is going to be out for at least 6 weeks. It's not expected for him to have surgery, which is really good, but he is still going to be out 6 weeks for rehabilitation so he can get back up to speed. So if you are somebody who is not on this podcast right now and you have the Steelers defense, you may want to rethink your strategies.
Yeah. I definitely know one person who got the majority of their points from the Steelers defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they might want to be looking elsewhere right now.
Maybe just a little bit. I find it very interesting that this person is not on the pod this week.
If he was on the pod, he would know.
And lost to me, but mysteriously has to do wedding stuff and can't be on the pod. I find that coincidental. I don't know about you, Colin.
I think we need to have him defend himself next week. I think he was just a little embarrassed about the loss.
I think so too. I also think that Clay is still going to win the championship. I think week 1 was just a tough week for him because out of everyone that he has, all 3 of those teams just were a bust.
They were.
So I think he's fine. I don't think he's nervous. I think he's going to be okay, but definitely concerning.
But emotionally, he might need a little bit of help this week. So, text your buddy Clay, pick him up, tell him it's okay. They lost to Pat. He needs you right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next segment, which is the top waiver wire players. Might be some ways to kind of fix some of the holes in your squads from week 1. We know what we have. We know what you need. Take it away, Pat.
Yeah. So first one is actually for you there, Mr. Commish. You may be wondering, well, Elijah Mitchell is out. Who am I going to get for him? Well, funny enough, Jeff Wilson Jr. is a really good replacement.
Dude, I almost picked him up last week just because I didn't trust the Niners medical staff, like I said, strength conditioning programs.
I mean, I think that game was a wash, pun intended, just with the amount of rain at Soldier Field. I mean, I don't think anyone – I mean, clearly that game was just a bust. All in all, bust. It could have been a lot higher scoring had it not been a torrential downfall. So I think next week I think running back numbers are going to be higher. And I think Elijah Mitchell especially is going to have more production. So for me personally, I have him on the top of my list.
Oh, Jeff Wilson, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have him at the top of my list to make sure that, like, hey, he's going to be the number one guy now. Maybe pick him up.
1-for-1? Is he as valuable as Elijah Mitchell was?
He is now.
He is now. Do
Yeah.
you think he's going to step in and take on that full role, or do you think they'll split it up a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
don't even know if Elijah Mitchell is coming back this year.
I think they said what, 5-6 weeks, something like that, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, they did,
Yeah,
but I still think that he might have to have surgery because they weren't 100% convinced if he was going to be able to get away with it or not.
Yep.
So
We'll see about that one.
if he has surgery, he's like out. So Jeff Wilson will be your guy. So that's my number one. Number two, I'm gonna have is two players actually from the Washington Commanders.
What?
Carson Wentz and Curtis Samuel. They balled out yesterday.
Raise your hand if you saw that coming.
Crickets. Because no one saw that coming. No one saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire doing as well as he did. And yet here we are.
It's a weird week one, man.
Week one. So I would if you are looking for a new quarterback and wide receiver duo, Carson Wentz and Curtis Samuel are going to be your guys, especially next week going up against the Jags. Or not going up against the Jags, going up against Detroit.
Definitely, for sure. I think people forget how good Curtis Samuel was before he went through that rough patch of injuries last year. When he was with Carolina, his last full season healthy, I mean, he was tearing it up.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody describe him as dollar store Debo today. And I very much think that's accurate because he's using the run game, pass game. You can count on a fair amount of carries from him too. So I like that call, Pat.
Thank you. My next pick is Rex Burkhead. Shout out to Nebraska.
Rexy.
I mean, he still looks good. He looks so good still. He got 13 points against the Colts last week.
He plays good too.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a good pickup. If you need a solid back as a replacement or just a nice bench player, Rex Burkhead's going to be your guy.
And I think on this one, it's important to note, Pat, that sometimes going into the drafts, we start listening to the rumors, and the fantasy hype and the fantasy community as a whole likes to really hop onto certain wagons and hype those guys up.
Yeah.
And that really happened with Dameon Pierce, right? I mean, I think he was drafted for what, $10, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the hype was unreal. And then we come out here, Rex Burkhead's still a starter. They still clearly trust him more. He's going to get the majority of the running carries. He also got a fair amount of targets. So Rexy is still sexy.
Rexy is still sexy. All right, and for my last pick, I got Julio Jones. I have, after watching that Cowboys game, and again, this is the Cowboys, so they're just objectively awful. But I think with Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans, all of them are going to get their equal fair share of catches this year and receptions. And I see Tampa Bay being scary. My only concern is Tom Brady did not look great.
No, he didn't. But I think Chris Godwin went out with a hamstring injury too, if I'm not mistaken. In that what was the second quarter, maybe.
I didn't see anything on the injury report, but he might be okay.
He might be okay, but it's something worth monitoring if he definitely misses time.
But that's a good thing if you're a Julio Jones fan.
Exactly.
Because if you draft Julio Jones and Chris Godwin is actually out and I missed it on my report, that's more touches. Right. That's more receptions. That's more yards. That's more fantasy points. So I think if Chris Godwin is still in, I say still draft Julio Jones, keep him on your bench. If he's not in, definitely grab him, put him in your starting lineup.
Pat, did you watch that Sunday night game?
I did.
Did you see Julio Jones go down for a couple of those long catches?
Oh yeah.
The way he got up, man, he looked like he was 85 years old saying, "I hate my life, bring me my damn walker." But the guy still performed pretty well. It just every time he got up, I don't know if he was like, had to go to the bathroom or what the deal was. He just had that
I
look on
mean,
his
how
face.
many years in the NFL has he been in? Obviously, less than Tom Brady, but
A lot. He's been doing it at a high level for a long time. So,
yeah. And
I can
I mean,
see that.
and we'll move on after this, but I still want to just reiterate: Tom Brady did not look good.
Yeah.
I mean, his average release time from getting the snap is still very good. I think it's like 4 seconds or 3.8 seconds. And like he still has the arch, but he does not have the range.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting that they leaned on good old Uncle Lenny Fournette for that win.
Oh, yeah.
And I could see that continuing the rest of the season where they just try and pound the rock and grind out some wins. Tom can still throw the ball, but I could see Lenny cutting into that just a little bit too. So let's talk about trades this week. None? Okay, moving on. Yeah, get on those trades. Brecken, I'm not talking about you. Nobody wants you 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s. And
I have said it before, and I have said it again. Pierce and Creighton have nobody. You can tell me that you have Dalvin Cook and you have Austin Eckler all day long, but you have nobody else. And if those two aren't performing, and gosh, who else? Who does Creighton have? That he has Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey was good. I'm not going to deny he wasn't good this week, but at the same time, he's not going to carry your entire team. Like you guys need something. Pearson Creighton, I need to see more trades from you. A lot more trades. Because as this slope is going for the season, you guys are in the bottom.
Oh, I love it. We're getting people called out here on the show. Again, if you don't want to be called out by Pat, come on the pod. Take it up with Pat in person.
Yes.
So, since we have no guest picker this week, by the way, since y'all suck at volunteering to be on the pod, we're actually going to sweeten the pot a little bit. I haven't determined the amount or where to yet, but it will be enticing. We're going to be throwing in a gift card of my choosing, amount and place, for the person who picks the best week. So that being said, that's going to be based on league picks only. We're not going to include NFL picks. By the way, Pat, we should get a board bet or something between you, me, and Clay, or competition as far as NFL picks or game of the week picks or something like that goes.
Yeah, I would love that. We can talk about that off pod further. But yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah. So maybe we'll unveil a new idea next week.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. So let's review the picks from last week. As far as the NFL goes, Brecken, Clay, and myself all went 2-1, and Pat went 1-2. The odd game being Pat going with his Packers, who looked awful.
Yeah. Not a great start.
Yep.
It is clear that they are missing Devontae Adams badly.
Yep. And then the other shocker that everybody got wrong, nobody saw Russell Wilson going into Seattle and getting beat. I mean, I know there's a lot of questionable play calling, decisions, clock management at the end of the game, but regardless, the Broncos, I think, are a far superior team talent-wise to the Seattle Seahawks. There's no way they should have gone in and had that even be an issue with a field goal at the end. That game should have been over by the end of the third quarter.
But absolutely, it should have been.
It was interesting for sure. So as far as league picks go, Brecken was our guest picker last week. Split the pot 50-50. He went 3-3. And game of the week picks last week, Clay and myself and Brecken all picked Steve, and Pat picked Zach. So Pat is sitting behind 0-1. Clay and myself are both 1-0. Without further ado, we'll jump into our NFL picks. So as always, we're going to start with a Thursday night game, then move into a Sunday night game and a Monday night game. So our Thursday night game is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs from Vegas. The Chiefs are now favored at -4.5. I think the opening line was Chiefs -2.
Yes.
So people are kind of thinking the Chiefs take over here, possibly to do with Keenan Allen. maybe missing some time. Pat, who you got?
So this is an interesting game because the Chargers are an electric team, but they kind of struggled a little bit against the Raiders. But that being said, they are still an electric team, and as we all know, the Chiefs went yard in their first game of the season.
They did.
Like, I mean, it was unbelievable. Didn't like Pat Mahomes have like 52 fantasy points last week? Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane how well the Chiefs did as a whole, right? Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire got over 20 points. He never gets over 20 points. So like the Chiefs are really, really good, but I still really like the Chargers, and I'm not ready to give up on them. So I think the Chiefs win this game, but the Chargers will cover 4.5.
Okay, so you think it's gonna be close?
I think it's going to be down to a field goal. And if I was to really take any bet in this game, I would be betting the over.
Okay. So we do have Clay's picks with us, and Clay informed me he's going with the Chiefs. Gave no reasoning. He's just that confident. Okay.
Yep.
I also naturally got to go with the Chiefs, diehard Chiefs fan. However, I've been telling people whenever I have the conversation this year, I think the Chiefs are going to be better this year than they were with Tyreek Hill. I think that this year presents a new challenge to Patrick Mahomes, and a guy like that loves to improve his game. You saw him go through more reads. You saw him distribute the ball more. There was less schoolyard bullshit, as they call it, as far as, running around than heave-ho and Tyreek Hill. And I think that progression of reads really makes the Chiefs a lot more dangerous than they were last year even. Granted, part of that's just due to the Cardinals having an awful defense and secondary, but I think the Chiefs win this one. I think the Chiefs cover. You're on top until you're not, and the Chargers will inevitably charger. So our Sunday night game is Miami Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. Vegas has the Ravens favored in this one by 3.5. Pat, what's your take?
I think 3.5 is just being nice to Miami. And I think Baltimore just takes it away on this one.
They came out and they spanked the New England Patriots last week.
They did not look bad. It helps when you have Tyreek Hill, who is just kind of a cheat code almost.
But still,
that being said, like Tua is Tua. Like I think there was one play where he threw the ball so off, it bounced and still was able to get caught by a receiver. Like he had so much power, but the ball was just all downforce.
Hey, I got a good fantasy team name. All right, give me a grade on this one. What do you think? Tua Noodles, as in tuna and noodles.
Ooh. Do you have a picture of a
packet of tuna on an arm?
There you go. Yeah, I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so in this one, Clay also has the Ravens. I'm going to differ from you guys. I think that the Dolphins, again, I don't think Tua is a great quarterback. However, he doesn't have to be when he can get the ball to his playmakers, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Chase Edmonds, and they're going to make the plays for him. That deep shot down the field is always the goal, but I don't think that's as much of a reality for the Dolphins, no matter how much they try and hype it up on social media. So I'm going to take the Dolphins in a close game. I think they win it by less than a field goal. But I think Dolphins actually go in there and get the win.
I will say Jalen Waddle is very fast.
He is.
I saw a touchdown, I think, from him where he basically just got the ball and then was at the 30-yard line.
He just outran everybody.
Yeah, he's so quick he's just so quick and has a lot of acceleration.
Yep. Fantastic player. So and our Monday Night Football game, there are 2 Monday Night Football games, but I always try and choose the one that's the most intriguing, at least to me, and what I think is most intriguing to everybody else. And this week, I think it is the Minnesota Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles are actually favored by 2.5 after their strong, should we call it strong as it was against the Lions? Pierce, let us know. Performance against the Detroit Lions. But they did look good. A.J. Brown came in, made a huge impact. They decided that running backs can score touchdowns, and they actually maybe are back together with Miles Sanders. They're kind of like the on-again, off-again girlfriend-boyfriend saga. Pat, who you got?
You know who I got in this game, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. Come on. Come on, Eagles. I have no doubt that the Eagles let me rephrase that. I think this game is going to basically be the Chargers and the Chiefs game. I think it's going to be very high scoring. Yep. I think Kirk Cousins looked okay on Sunday. Justin Jefferson looked amazing on Sunday. And I think Dalvin Cook just didn't get enough time, but I think he will with this Eagles defense that he's going up against. And I can say literally the exact same thing for Philadelphia. Yeah. I think this is going to be two high-powered offenses. They're just going to score for days. But I think in the end, the Vikings are going to be the Vikings, and they're just going to fall short. And the Eagles are going to take that as their advantage and win it.
So this is strange. We're differing. Clay actually has the Eagles as well. And I'm
Eagles fly.
From you guys on this one as well. I was at first very, very tempted to go with the Eagles because of the home field advantage. Philadelphia is a very passionate fan base. And A.J. Brown's a man. But at the end of the day, I think you got to go with the best receiver in the league. And that's clearly Justin Jefferson. He's going to come up big when you need it. And I think the Vikings have the advantage of running back too with Dalvin Cook. I think he gets it done. Both these defenses are going to be reeling a little bit, I think, most of the game. So I'm going to go with the Vikings on this one. So this might separate us a little bit.
So we are the same with the Chiefs all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then we differ on the Sunday night and the Monday night game. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
It will be. So looking forward to it. Let's move into our league matchups. And like I said, Pat's going to be our guest picker. So his record of picks this week will get entered in to the official archives in our league this week. We have – oops, I didn't mean to do that. So we have a pretty good slate this week too. Our first matchup is Prestige Worldwide 1-0, myself versus Zeke and Destroy. Clay, who is 0-1. Again, maybe Clay is just trying to avoid the awkwardness this week with you and I.
Has to be
it. Who you got in this one?
Well, I got our commish on this one. I think it's going to be very close. I think both you and Clay will probably have top 3 highest totals for this week. But that being said, I think based on your team last week, I think your team will just have slightly more points. And I think it might honestly come down to like the decimal.
It could.
But I think you will just pull away.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm not trying to make this about my team, but I think it's a genuine question for the NFL. Is Saquon Barkley back?
Ooh, I think Saquon Barkley is back, but I would still be cautious.
Did you see that 2-point conversion?
Loved it. Loved everything about it.
The dude is a monster. Refuses to go down. He's incredible.
But that is the thing that makes me nervous, is that sentence right there. Because I watched him play. He played a damn good game of football. But he plays so dangerously. And it's almost as if he doesn't care if he gets injured. He just needs to make the play.
You know, the thing is, though, Pat, in the game of football and other fast-paced sports, the minute you slow down and don't go 100% like you know how to do, the minute you slow it down to try and compensate for an injury, whatever it might be, try and protect yourself, that's always when you get hurt because you're not maximally using your game instincts, your athleticism, your balance, your coordination, muscle activation, all that in the way it needs to be, as if you were going 100%. And we see it all the time with athletics.
Which I get that. I just wish the Giants would not use him as the workhorse that he is.
I disagree with you on that. I think they should use him more.
You're saying that as a fantasy owner perspective.
So sorry for that detour. Anyways, I just genuinely was politely
surprised with the way he performed last week. So
yeah, I mean, he was awesome. I don't think any of us were expecting how much of a comeback that he was going to make.
Yeah, definitely. So our next matchup has you in it. Again, guaranteed the playoff berth here, Pat. Worse than Rutgers, 1-0 versus Hertz Donut, who is 0-1 with a big flopping turd in week 1.
Yep. And as I said earlier, and as I will say again, I predict myself to be the winner in this one because Pierce just does not have a good team. He has good players. He has Jalen Hurts, he has Austin Eckler, and he has Dalvin Cook. He does not have anybody else. And those 3 players are not going to be enough for him to score points.
Could one say he has too many cooks in the kitchen?
One could absolutely say he has too many cooks, especially because the one cook had one play where he fumbled and never saw him again.
Oh man, that was great.
And he started a freaking injured player.
That's true.
He clearly isn't paying attention because he thinks he's just going to make the playoffs and just walk on it. And he's not going to do that this year.
Exactly, because you and Steve came to play, damn it.
I think if I'm Pierce, I trade Dalvin Cook or I trade Austin Eckler. I trade one of those 2 players for just a more roundabout team, and he's going to be fine. But he has to trade one of those 2 players, or else he's just not going to win.
We'll see if he gets it done. We will see.
But worse than Rutgers may not be worse than Rutgers for long.
I love the confidence. So our next matchup has Hard Knocks Life, who is 0-1, versus the King, who is 1-0. Let's pause for a second. I think it's interesting to note we only have one matchup where the teams were undefeated this week and one matchup where both teams are winless this week. So pretty balanced week this week. So Hard Knocks versus the King. Who you got?
I have Hard Knocks Life again.
You tried that last week.
I tried that last week, and it did not work out for me. I like John's team. I don't love his team. But I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come in next week, and he is going to be so pissed off that we are going to see a amazing performance from him. And I'm not saying that as a Packers fan. I'm saying that as a fantasy owner perspective. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. He's going to be mad, and he's going to just go yard on, and hopefully will beat some ass in practice this week on his wide receivers, who clearly cannot know. I don't know how you make it to the NFL and not know how to catch a ball. It was honestly, it was outstanding to me. So I think Joe Mixon is going to be back. I think Deebo Samuel is going to have a great game against Seattle. I think Tyreek Hill is going to go off again. I think Antonio Gibson is going to go yard on the Lions. And then Michael Thomas is going to produce Michael Thomas numbers again because clearly he's back now. And yeah. I think Beery is going to come away with his first win this week.
That would be good for Beery, but tough for John to repeat the 10-4 if he starts racking up losses now.
Yeah.
Next one on the slate is AFC West. Alexander, who's 1-0, versus Creed's Warm guys, who are 0-1. Again, a matchup of former champs here. Who you got?
Well, weirdly enough, I look at Creed's team and I see nobody on his starting roster.
Okay, this is some weird mind game or whatever that Brecken does every single week. Yeah, I love Brecken, but I got to call him out for this one. It's a little neurotic. It's a little anal. I'm not sure what the whole point is because you got to plug somebody in there eventually anyways.
I mean, sheer mind games right now.
Yeah.
Sheer mind games. And maybe he's waiting for tomorrow for the waiver wire. You know, maybe he's doing that. I don't know, but it has me very concerned.
Alternative theory. I think that he does it so that he can try and send out some 2-for-1s and say that, oh, these guys are starters, but nobody actually knows if they're a starter or not because he has nobody starting.
Brecken is the king of sending you trade offers of 2 or 3-to-1s.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I don't want 2 okay players. I want 1 good player.
That's the
Send
dream.
me
But
a
hey,
good offer for
but
once.
sometimes if you don't have any serviceable players and it goes from good to bad, sometimes you need a couple of okay players.
But I think no matter what Brecken does this week, Alexander takes it away, goes 2-0.
All right, I like it. Second to last matchup before we get into game of the week is going to be Corn Kid Andy at 0-1 versus Apollo Creed at 0-1 in the winless battle of the week.
So if there was ever an actual toilet bowl, this might be the toilet bowl.
You know, there are toilet bowls on every toilet.
No, but like, you ever see Waterboy?
Yep.
Yeah, the toilet bowl, like college football
yeah,
game that they
I
play.
know.
Yeah. So like this would be the toilet bowl. Like Creighton's team is awful. Andy's team didn't even show up against you.
Hey, to be fair, it wouldn't have mattered if they did.
It would not have mattered, right? You went yard for points.
Sorry,
but,
Andy. I'll stop.
I'll
stop, Andy.
I'm not sorry. I think it's just gonna be a tough match to watch. But I think Andy's team wins. I think the Corn Kid goes 1-1 and Apollo Creed goes 0-2. And I'm gonna say the exact same thing, Creighton, that I just said about Pierce. You need to trade. I will be very upset next week if I see no trades from you or Pierce.
It'll be interesting, especially, if we start digging holes here pretty early.
Yeah.
I think 0-2 is definitely recoverable, but, if you start to go 0-3.
0-4, you're going to get into my level, and that's bad.
You don't want to be at Pat's level.
You don't want to be worse than Rutgers.
Not this year.
Not this year.
So, question before we get to our game of the week. How many wins does it take to be better than Rutgers? Give me a number.
Ooh, I'm going to say 5.
Okay, you get to 5 wins, you got to change that team name.
Yep.
All right. So our last matchup, the second game of the week, once again making an appearance, is Steve Lesher with Kittlecorn versus Patrick's Mustache. So we have Patrick's Mustache on the pod. We got it in the game of the week. Pat, are you picking your own stash?
I got to go with the stash. I love Gizmo's team. I love this team. This team, I'm pretty sure 6 out of the 11 had 20 points last week, with Jonathan Taylor having 30. Like, this team is awesome. Evan McPherson did not show up as much as I thought he would, but still, this is still a good team. And I like Steve's team because Steve had, I think was top 5 in the league for highest points.
Yeah.
But I think Mitch's team just gets a little bit better, and we are going to see a very fun fantasy matchup.
Yeah. Should be some fireworks this week for sure in that one.
Absolutely.
Matchup of the undefeateds. I know. It's crazy to hear undefeated and Steve in the same sentence, but here we are. So Clay has informed me that he is going with Kittlecorn and myself. I've gone back and forth on this one. I think it's going to be a heated contest. If we break it down by position line, I think Josh Allen's better than Joe Burrow. I think that Jonathan Taylor is a better running back than anybody. Steve has Jamar Chase. I think barely gets edged out by Justin Jefferson. I think a big question mark is if Kittle plays. If Kittle plays, I think Steve has a pretty good shot here, but that concerns me. If he does play, is he going to be a little bit limited? Is he going to be more of a blocker? So that being said, while I think Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson are capable of putting the team on their backs again, I think that I got to go with your mustache, Pat. I just think that the depth there with Terry McLaurin and potentially Damian Harris and Miles Sanders is more than Steve has. I don't like Claypool, and Breece Hall is kind of wishy-washy so far. it all depends on if the Eagles are still together with Miles Sanders or if they're on one of their breakups again. It seems to be a weekly thing. So,
Yeah.
but I'm taking your mustache to win this matchup.
It's a great
So,
stash.
Yeah. Any final comments before we head on out of here today, Pat?
My only comment is going to be that I love this league. This is the one thing that I look forward to on my Sundays. And despite all the work that I have to do on Wednesday nights for editing, it still brings a joy to do this podcast. So thank you for all of you. I know I roast you on a daily basis, but I do love you guys and I enjoy being in this league.
Same goes here. It's an hour a week that I really look forward to. Love you guys. I love the feedback we get from the podcast. Let us know what you think, as always. If you want to be a guest, we're taking applications for next week. Get on it. We need a waiting list. We'd love to have you guys on, hear your thoughts. So jump on that when you can. All right. Other than that, have a great week, guys. Looking forward to Thursday Night Football, watching some Chiefs. Have a good night, Pat.
You do the same, Commish.
All righty. Cheers, man.
Cheers.